Hello class, welcome to week 13 of Programming Logic with Python. This is actually the second video of the day. So this video is going to be the lab walkthrough video. The other video was the kind of conceptual topic overview video. So if you guys want a kind of brief overview of what a module, what a package is, you can go to that video and then come here. But like I said in the class announcement for this week, the homework assignments are actually pretty easy. This first homework assignment is actually super easy. There's only 3. I took away one of them. The fourth homework assignment, which I believe was like, let me see if I could find it. I'm going to actually close this. I think it was like 8.6. 8.6, yeah, performing file operations. I did mention in the class announcement that I don't want to really focus on file operations for this chapter, even though it is included. So you can read through the textbook if you want on that section, but that topic of file operations will not appear on test 3, um, either in the multiple choice or in the programming question. I'm not going to touch that topic because that topic is really more of an advanced topic. So let's just focus on modules and packages for this chapter. I do believe I also mentioned that in the previous video, but if you haven't watched it yet, I'm going to say it here as well. So let's start the homework assignment. This, like I said, this is really easy. The first one, start by entering import itertools, and it's literally just typing it in. Notice that we don't have a .py file here. We are strictly working in terminal, which is like a command prompt on your computer. So the first thing we're going to do is, well, we're in the terminal, but we're actually in the Python interpreter, and the way I know that is because it says Python up here. So yeah, so the first thing that we want to do is import intertools. So we do that by typing in import intertools and I press enter. I'm not going to get a prompt saying that my command was successful. It just does it. So the second thing they want us to do is use the relevant built-in dir function, which is essentially just dir and then the parentheses. But we wanted to inspect the resources defined in intertools. So since intertools is a module, the built-in dir function allows us to examine the contents of different kinds of modules, whether it's a built-in module, whether it's a user-defined module. And the way to do that is by actually putting in the module that I want to examine inside of the dir parentheses. So when I press enter, it's going to give me all of the stuff that exists inside of intertools. So I just get a huge list essentially, and I know it's a list because it's surrounded by square brackets. So that's that. That's number 2. The last thing they want us to do is use the relevant built-in help function to read about how to use the intertools library. So kind of the same concept. We do help, open parenthesis, and then I put intertools inside of it as my argument, press enter, and it gives me kind of like a run through on how to use certain, I guess, function, or I can't even scroll up, certain tools within the intertools built-in function. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. It's just there to show you that it's something that the help function allows you to do. It kind of gives you brief explanations on each tool inside of the intertools, the built-in intertools module, and I'm just doing the checks right now, and yep, all 3 pass. So if I go here, run, oh, you could also do this, you don't have to do one by one, and then you would just submit it right here. So that is the first one. It's relatively easy. I did kind of explain it a little bit more, but it's at its core just entering in the commands. So let's do the second video, or the second problem in the video. For this video, actually this is 8.3b. Oh yeah, this is it. Okay, so scenario, you are implementing a program at work and you need to use a package that you have never interacted with before. You find that you need to write a script using the directory method to list all the resources that are available in the package. So the aim is use a function that will take a package or module name and print out the names of all the resources defined in the package or module using the directory method. Okay, So we're going to use a function. So I already know if I'm going to use a function, I'm going to do def, the keyword def. And the first things for step for completion, it says define a function called resources. I can't even spell. Resources underscore scanner that takes an argument of package. Okay. So I'm just putting one argument of package. Everything is relatively the same when we're defining a function. You begin with def. You do the function name, which in this case they gave it to us. Typically you would do the parentheses, but sometimes you don't need to pass an argument here. But if you do, you would do it like this. You would just put the argument name inside of it. You close the parentheses, and then you have the colon. And when you press enter, it's going to indent for you. So inside of it, using the dir method, create a variable to list all the resources that are available in that package. So they kind of word it so that it's a little bit confusing, but what I am going to take away from this is I have to create a variable. So I'm just going to create the variable of, let's do available resources. It's pretty long. You don't have to name it available resources. I'm just gonna name it unless they tell me otherwise. Let me look here. Yeah, they don't really specify, but if I have to change it, I will. So you just call it whatever variable you want, and inside of it is actually where we're going to do the dir built-in function, so the dir that you saw in the previous example. But in this case, I wanted to list out the available resources in that package. So what I'm saying is take the dir built-in function and check for all the available stuff that I have inside of the argument of package. So that's that. So the next thing is inside the function use a for statement to print and list each of the package's resources. So this is just going to return a list of all the resources inside of the module package. But if I want to print and list each of the packages as resources, they want me to do that using a for loop. So the for loop is pretty standard as far as how we've created for loops before. So the first thing is going to be like, you start with the for keyword, you follow it with like a sort of dummy variable that's going to be used as your iterator. I say for, I'm going to use resource in, and then what am I going to iterate through? I'm going to iterate through the list of package, which is the module. So this is storing the calculation of dir package. So I can do in available resources, and I do this colon, it's going to indent for me, and I'm just going to say print out resource. So this is essentially just going to print out each of the available available functions, arrays, whatever is inside of package. Resource is gonna represent each of those and print them out. So if I do python3 main.py, yeah, it's gonna print them out one by one. So the first one is formatter, then template. So instead of doing it in a list format, which it would have done if I just printed out this, I wanted it to print it out one by one. So that was the point of the for loop. So it's kind of the same thing, except you're just not getting it in a list and output that is in a list format. And yeah, kind of like what they wanted here. So if I check this, it should be fine unless they're extremely picky. But we'll see here. Okay, yeah, they are. The program outputs the resources used in the package. Template meta class results. Package resource values are not hard-coded into the program. Did I miss something? The program outputs the resources used in the package. It does. Template meta class. Why was this one not included? Chain map all. Yeah, this one wasn't included for whatever reason. Let me see what I did wrong here. So, um, I just run it again. I'm not sure why that one wasn't included. Template meta. Let me look into this and I'll be right back. Alright, so I did take a second to kind of look things over. I didn't want to elongate the video by me just kind of trying to go through things to figure it out. So I think this is an error on whoever created this program. Actually, I kind of know it is, because when I run this python3 main.py file, I included this other line which is just printing out the dir and then the package, which is going to show me all of the contents that are inside of the module package. And if I compare this list right here with what they have on the left side, so after chain map, it actually doesn't have a template meta class as it says on the left side. It goes straight to all. So the reason I'm not getting full checks is because it's saying, well, you're missing that template meta class, but that template meta class actually doesn't exist inside of this module of package. So if I go here, it's gonna say right here, if I expand this, it's gonna say you're missing template meta class, but template meta class does not exist in the module of package, which is a mistake on their end. So it doesn't really matter whether or not you change the dummy variable from, I think what I had before, to X, because the moment I include this line, it's showing me that the actual hard code that they created is missing this template meta class, so it's never going to be fully right. So just submit it as is. When I do see the grades for 8.3b, even though it's going to be like what is it going to give me? If I submit this, it's going to give me, what, 99%? I'll just change it to 100 because I know this is a mistake on their end, so don't worry too much about that. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to 8.3c, and we can just kind of start assignment. So this is the final one. The last one, obviously, is what it is. So let's do this one. So this one, the scenario is relatively short. So build a random number generator using inbuilt Python resources. I think they meant using built-in Python resources. Okay, so write a function called number randomizer. So I'm just going to start by doing that. So number, and they already imported the module of random. So I'm going to do number underscore randomizer. Yep, okay. So whose purpose is to generate random integers between 0 and 100. The function should use the resources defined in the built-in random module, which they imported up here. It should take one argument, which is num. So I'm going to actually put the one argument right now, and it's going to indent my function for me. It should take one argument num, which is an integer, and return a list containing num random variables. Okay. So, for example, calling a function with 6 returns a list of 6 random numbers as shown in this. Okay. Okay, so let's do steps for completion. Import random module, they already do that for you. define a function named number randomizer, which I already did. Inside the function, use a for loop. Use a for looping statement and the resources from our imported module to generate random numbers. Okay, so let's do the for loop. Let's do for, I'm just going to do x, and now in the resources from our imported module to generate random numbers. So what I could do, what was the num again? I should take one argument num, which is an integer, and return a list containing num random numbers. Using the number randomizer function, print out the random output numbers for 2 random numbers, 4 random numbers, and 6 random numbers. Alright, so I think the first way to approach this program is to, they do mention one thing up here that's, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so it should return a list containing num random numbers. So I did kind of skip over this. We do need to create a list, and in that list we're going to store our random numbers, and we kind of see it down here as well. They have a random number stored inside of a list for these 3 things. So before this for statement, let's create a list, and we can call this list something like, let's do like our numbers. It doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters. Yeah, so I can call it our numbers. And remember, we don't really have anything inside of it yet, so I'm just going to kind of leave it empty. And then for the for statement, going back here, I'm just going to say, because we don't really have anything to iterate through, I'm just going to say iterate through num, which is essentially just the module, or not the module, but the, what do they call it? The argument, yeah, so the argument of num, which is an integer, and return a list containing num random numbers. So we're just going to iterate through num. Don't worry too much about that right now. So inside of here, let's do our our numbers, period, because I want to say for x in range num. The action I want them to do is I want them to take the list that I just created, the empty list, and append, which means add to the end of that list. And what I'm going to do is they don't really specify to do this. I want to use a specific method that exists inside of the random module, which you wouldn't know unless you actually like looked up if you did like dir and then the parentheses and then did actually I can do it right now. So let's erase this, and let's do dir and then was random. So if I do python 3 main.py, okay, oh, I think this is what's printing out. So let's do print dir random. Okay, so all of this is what I was actually looking for. So the one I am going to use is, let's see if I could find it. It's not random, okay, here it is. It took me a second because it's so bunched up, it's hard to read. So I'm going to use the randit method, and that randit method belongs to the random module, and you wouldn't really know how to pick it out. So that's why it's kind of important, I guess. I mean, it's a new thing to learn. Obviously, programmers don't really have all of these methods memorized, but I guess for this example, I'll teach you guys the randit method essentially says that you can take, actually I have it in front of me, So let me see if I can add this onto, give me 1 second. I'm just going to add this right here. So can you guys see that? Okay, I think so. So the randIt method essentially says we can return a number between any arguments that we give inside of it. So if we import random, we have access to the randIt method. As long as we do random period and then the randIt method, and then inside of it we can give two arguments. So the first argument is going to be the starting range. The second argument will be the ending range. So returns an integer number selected element from the specified range. So why is that important? Because they're telling us to give a, I believe it was, whose purpose is to generate random integers between 0 and 100. So that's kind of the whole purpose. So it's going to give us the ability to choose between those two numbers. So let's go back to the code. I'm going to have to rewrite everything actually. So I'm going to delete that because I don't need to know the specific methods inside of the module of random. I can just kind of go back to what I was doing. So I have my list, my empty list. I'm going to go to my for loop. I'm going to write my for loop. So for x in range num, and then the colon. So inside of it, I'm going to do our numbers because I'm going to start with my list that I created up there. I'm going to append to it, so I'm going to add to the end of that list. And now I'm going to do the random period randIt that you guys saw over here. This same syntax, where is it? Right here. Random period randIt, but instead of doing 3 and 9, I'm going to do 0 through 100. So I'm going to do 0 and then 100. So that's that. And so the only thing I'm missing, so I'm done with my for loop. The only thing I'm missing is a return, because remember I have to, where was it? For loop, there was, okay, right here, and return a list containing num random numbers. So we created the list, we're appending the random numbers between 1 and 100, or 0 and 100. So now we just have to return it. So to return it, we just do return, and then we do our list. So what's the name of our list? Our numbers. So now, when we run this code, so I'm just going to run it right here on the right-hand side. It gave me an error. Okay. So let's see. Module random has no attributes. RandIt. Did I spell it wrong? Randint. Oh. Okay, there we go. I was close. Py. Okay, perfect. So that is, I mean, it's not going to be the exact same numbers that they give us. It's obviously random. So it says, please note that your output will differ every time the program is executed, because it's generating random numbers every time. The first time it's generating 2 random numbers, which is why you see 2. The second time it will generate 4 random numbers between 0 and 100. And then the third time it's going to generate 6 random numbers between 0 and 100. So I guess the important thing to take away from this is, first we created our list, our empty list, and you can call it whatever you want. Second, we created a for loop, and we're iterating through the range of num, which we don't really know what it is, but we know it's an argument that was passed up here. Inside the for loop, we are referencing our list that we created. So we put the same name of the list. It could be whatever. Obviously, your list will have a different name. We want to add to that list because the list is currently empty. And what we're adding is, the way we're adding it is we're saying, okay, use the module class, or the module of random, but use a specific method from that module of random, the method of randint. I was saying it the whole time, int. And that's essentially saying, if we go back here, it's going to return a number between it's going to return a number between a specified range. So our range was 0 and 100. So it's just going to give us a number between 0 and 100. So that's what this for loop is going to do. And it's going to return the list. So the list is going to essentially be whatever numbers we generated. So the first time when we're saying give us two numbers, it's going to run this for loop two times. And it's going to generate two numbers into our list, and that's why we get these two numbers. Obviously, my numbers are different. So hopefully that makes sense, and I think it makes sense. It kind of makes sense to me now. But they don't really specify create a list. They don't specify use the rand int, which they really should. Um, because it's like, unless you have the wherewithal to do what I did, which was the dir built-in function, and then I just put random inside of it, and then I kind of just like looked at this, because even I don't remember everything that's inside of the random function or the random module. So I had to kind of go through this list, see what was familiar to me, and then this one actually stood out. I did look at this as well, but this one stood out the most. So I did just quick Google. A lot of times that's what you're gonna do. And then I found this, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this kind of works for what I want to do, what they're asking me to do for returning a number between 0 and 100. So I'm just going to use that. And then obviously this code was generated for you, and then if I do the checks, it should give me 100%. Yeah, it does. So this one kind of, it was, I wouldn't say it's impossible to complete, but it might take you a little bit longer if you're not familiar with specific looking up methods inside of modules. But I guess that's what the video is here for. I mean, it's good practice just to see how we can take a imported module and just use the stuff inside of that module to complete whatever task they're giving us. Um, and obviously, we've been using loops in the past two exercises, which you're already familiar with. We've been using a list in this exercise, which you're familiar with. And I mean, they give you code that's already written for you, so that's pretty nice of them to do. They imported the random class, the random module for you. But I mean, it's a new concept, so don't feel bad if you don't fully understand, or if you're trying to do it by yourself without watching this video and you're just like, I don't really know how to go about completing this program. Sometimes it's just you have to learn new things. So like me introducing the rand int method from the random module is a new thing that you wouldn't have known prior. But if you ever get stuck like that, or type in the dir built-in function. I have caps lock on, and then just put in the imported module that we're working with, but obviously print it out. So print dir random. And so when I run this code, the first thing that should get printed out is well, it's going to print it out many times, but you're just going to see it right here. So this is all of the kind of stuff that's inside of the random module. So when you do get stuck, just kind of look at them. They're separated by commas, so you can see BPF. I mean, you could always Google all of these, but you can kind of go down here because these are probably like the actual functions or methods that are actually usable. And I found rand int right here. But you know, it's a new topic. They're introducing new stuff to you, so don't feel bad if you don't understand it at first. As long as you kind of understand it now that I've showed you the concept of how to solve the problem, great. Um, will there be a question where you're going to have to write code for a module from scratch for the final test? Probably not, but I might have questions about, you know, modules just in general. Like how would you import a module? How would you import a package? Stuff like that is stuff that you'll likely see on the test. So like for that, we haven't really practiced that in these examples for these homework assignments for this week. But definitely go through the PowerPoint, go through the other video, because I do kind of show you how to do that in the other video as well. Um, but yeah, that's these three examples. I mean, obviously there was 8.6, which is performing file operations, but I removed that from the requirement for this week, so you don't have to worry about that. And as we go through these other little sections in this chapter, you see that there's no lab activities for them because like I said in the other video and at the beginning of this video, this week is more of a conceptual topic, or yeah, overview of a topic. You can't really practice it, you just kind of have to understand it, which sounds really weird to say, but it's just how it is. If you guys want to test your knowledge, definitely go through this module quiz. It's not graded and it's not mandatory, but if you just want to test to make sure that you really understand the concept of modules, I'll just open it up. It's just 10 questions. They just ask you what a module is. They might ask you questions on, let me see if I can go through it. Yeah, so the with keyword. So there might be questions. Actually, there's a lot of questions on, yeah, there's a lot. Maybe this isn't the best thing. There's a lot of questions about file operations in here. So maybe I take back what I said. Maybe don't go through this. There are quite a few questions on file operations. Um, so 8.6, 8.4, 8.5. So maybe go through these practice exercises. Those might be better. So the practice exercise on 8.3 might be good. Um, 8.2 has 2 practice exercises. So if you just want more practice, try to understand it. 8.1. So definitely go through those if you want additional practice on those. So 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3 are definitely good reference points. 8.4, 5, and 6, and 7 are more focused on file stuff, which I said we're not going to really include on test 3. So I wouldn't worry too much about those. But that's it. That's all I wanted to really say in this video. We went through the example, the lab activities, and I kind of explained, I guess, my point of view on how to solve them. This obviously this is also a good site. I do think I included that in a previous for preparation for test 2. So if you guys want, I'm just gonna briefly sit on this site for a second. It's called w3schools.com. And you can just go to Python up here, and then you'll get this list on the left hand side, and you can just go through them. So like I think uh, let's see, we would be on modules right here, so you could just kind of go through modules, practice for modules right here. So they give you like little sections on try it yourself, so you can definitely click on those. This can also be additional practice for in preparation for the test. And then they have test yourself with exercises. So if I do start the exercise, I get 4 examples on just modules in general. So definitely another good resource to reference, especially since we don't have a lot of practice this week on creating modules for the homework assignments. There, as you saw, the homework assignments were kind of quick or just focused a lot on loops. More than modules, because modules is not really something that we can practice a lot. Um, but yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. So W3 Schools, definitely check it out. Good reference point. And that was it for the exercises. So that's kind of it for week 13. Week 14 will be the final week for before test 3. It'll be the final topic that we're going to be going over. So week 14, let me just briefly check to see what topic. Okay, so error handling, another topic where it's going to be more conceptual than it is practice. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So that's it for week 13. As always, if you have questions, shoot me an email. As for that one lab activity, the one where it doesn't give you full marks, for everyone who submits that lab activity, I'm just going to give it the full marks that it should. So I'm going to override that grade, so don't worry about it. You don't have to email me. Once I see it, maybe by like Friday, I'll just like or no, Saturday, because it's due on Saturday. I'll just like mass override that specific lab activities grade. So just on Saturday, you'll see the change in that grade. Saturday night, I'll do that. And that's it. So I'll see you guys next week.